This brings down the entire network.
She's in the east wing! Hands up! Drop it!
They're surrounded. Give me the drive.
Federal agents, stand down!
They built an empire on stolen lives, and now they'll answer for everyone.
Empire fall.
$14.6 billion. That's what foreign criminals just stole from American healthcare. Operation Gold Rush exposed the largest medical fraud in U.S. history. And guess what? Most of these parasites are operating from overseas, sucking America dry, while our own citizens can't afford basic medical care. The names tell you everything you need to know about who's really behind this massive theft. Well, it's just not just about your money. It's about your health care costs, your insurance premiums, and why American families go bankrupt from medical bills while foreign scammers get rich off our system. These criminals set up fake medical equipment companies, billed Medicare for equipment that was never delivered, and funneled billions overseas. Every dollar they stole came from you, the taxpayers who fund Medicare. Meanwhile, your grandmother rationing her medications because she can't afford them. This is economic warfare. And we're losing because we've been too weak to fight back. The fact that most defendants are overseas proves our borders and our systems are completely compromised. And speaking of being prepared for economic warfare, if you're over 40 and planning to retire someday, the window to protect what you have built may be smaller than you realize. Is your portfolio built for what's coming next? See, many investors in their 40s and 50s have no exposure to precious metals. Their savings are tied to markets, government policy, and paper assets with very little protection if conditions change. As retirement moves from someday to right around the corner, protecting what you have built becomes just as important as growing it. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They help investors reduce risk by adding physical gold to their portfolios. No pressure, no sales gimmicks, just clear answers and a strategy built around your goals. Visit nextnewsgold.com. Again, that's nextnewsgold.com. Or call that number on the screen. See if you qualify for this 3-ounce American Virtues Independence Silver Round. But here's what's even more infuriating. We're going to tell you the names. I can't even pronounce them. Nakamanatulev, Jakolev, Kronas, Turiskin. Now, these aren't your traditional American names, folks. These are foreign operatives who figured out how to game our system from thousands of miles away. They're laughing at us while they drain our Medicare system dry. And the guy they caught in Brooklyn, he's probably just the fall guy for the massive international criminal network. Operation Gold Rush. Most of the 324 fraudsters who stole $14.6 billion from the federal government. You guys don't believe anything, but the dark stuff here is just scratching the surface. The big multi-agency investigation, Operation Gold Rush, targeting Medicare fraud, had an interesting list of characters charged. 12 of the 19 defendants have been arrested and are in custody either in the U.S. or abroad, awaiting extradition. Now, I know this is small. I'll make it larger for you so you can see it. But here's some of the names. I'll just scroll through them. And of course, you see the companies or various entities that they represented. Yeah, look at the names. Just look up at the screen real quick. I'm not even going to try to pronounce these. Maybe that one, Kevin. That's probably about it. Kevin got busted. Kevin from G&I Ortho Supply. Yeah. Okay. And let's see. Kevin was from Kevin was from Brooklyn. Let's throw Kevin under the bus. Everyone else, Estonia, Russia, Eastern Europe, Estonia, Russia, Estonia, Eastern Europe. That's just the partial list, 12 of the 19. We're now getting facts about the arrests and extraditions, but this fraud scheme goes way deeper than Medicare. Gitmo awaits. Largest healthcare fraud in U.S. history. Operation Gold Rush exposes $14.6 billion medical scam. 324 people charged. Listen to this.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Gagliotti, and I'm the head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division. Thank you all for joining us today as we announce the largest coordinated healthcare fraud takedown in the history of the Department of Justice. Today marks a decisive moment in our fight to protect American taxpayers from fraudsters and to defend the integrity of America's healthcare system. We are announcing today charges against 324 defendants for their alleged participation in healthcare fraud schemes involving approximately $14.6 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare, Medicaid, and other healthcare programs. In a takedown this large, I can't possibly describe all of the work that went into dismantling each scheme, but there are 4 key points that bear emphasizing. First, let me be clear about what these healthcare fraud schemes mean for every hardworking American family. These criminals didn't just steal someone else's money. They stole from you. Every fraudulent claim, every fake billing, every kickback scheme represents money taken directly from the pockets of American taxpayers who fund these essential programs through their hard work and sacrifice. And when criminals defraud these programs, they're not just committing theft. They're driving up our national deficit and threatening the long-term viability of healthcare for seniors, disabled Americans, and our most vulnerable citizens. This enforcement action involves the seizure of cash, as well as luxury vehicles and properties, returning real money to American taxpayers and to our government healthcare programs. Second, we are seeing a disturbing trend of transnational criminal organizations engaging in increasingly sophisticated and complex criminal schemes that defraud the American healthcare system. As part of this takedown, we've identified and charged defendants operating from Russia, Eastern Europe, Pakistan, and other foreign countries. These individuals have infiltrated our healthcare system to steal American taxpayer dollars. As just one example, we dismantled a scheme involving a sophisticated operation run from Russia and Eastern Europe that strategically bought dozens of medical supply companies in the United States and submitted more than $10 billion in fraudulent healthcare claims to Medicare. To make matters worse, these perpetrators used the stolen identities of more than 1 million Americans spanning all 50 states to perpetrate this scheme and submit these false claims. But I'm pleased to report that federal agents intercepted and arrested key members of that organization at U.S. airports and the U.S.-Mexico border, cutting off their intended escape routes. The days of transnational criminal organizations using the American healthcare programs as their personal piggy bank are over. Third, this takedown resulted in criminal charges against 74 defendants, including medical professionals who fueled America's deadly opioid crisis for personal profit. These are not isolated instances of poor judgment. These are calculated schemes designed to exploit Americans struggling with addiction while enriching the very people who were duty-bound to help them heal. We charged pill mill operators who prescribed unnecessary opioids. We dismantled networks of corrupt pharmacies that existed solely to distribute drugs to addicts and dealers, feeding the addiction crisis that has devastated so many American communities. This is not healthcare. It is a staggering breach of trust. And under my leadership, the criminal division will prosecute these criminals as aggressively as we would any drug dealer, because that's exactly what they are. Fourth, many of the defendants charged as part of this takedown specifically targeted our most vulnerable citizens, elderly Americans in nursing homes, individuals with disabilities, those battling serious illnesses, and more. For example, our prosecutors charged 7 defendants, including 5 medical professionals, in connection with approximately $1 billion in fraudulent claims to Medicare and other healthcare benefit programs for performing medically unnecessary skin grafts on dying patients as they were seeking to spend their final days with dignity and peace. That conduct is exactly as callous and disturbing as it sounds. Patients and their families trusted these providers with their lives. Instead of receiving care, they became victims of elaborate criminal schemes.
Yeah, that's just part of it. The scope's staggering, but while feds chase healthcare fraud, there's a whole other recovery program trying to help the victims. Secretary of Veteran Affairs on how President Trump's Great American Recovery Initiative will help veterans in addiction recovery.
Benefit from the coordination aspect of it. VA, we have been actively involved in all aspects of recovery and rehabilitation, especially from the addiction perspective for our veterans for many years. It's something we have specialized in and continue to work on. And we have a lot of different treatments from in-house to also using partners and outside of the VA as well. So what this will do, though, is help us get more with the state, local, and then federal together so that we're not sure that we're missing any, that none fall through the cracks, especially from a veteran perspective, because of all that they've done and how they served us. We have, these things that are out there for them that they may not know about. So this better coordination of care is going to be really good.
Speaking of systematic failures, here's a perfect example of how insurance companies are literally killing people while fraudsters get rich. American social worker calling the health insurance company that denied a $539 inhaler, and a 22-year-old died after choosing to pay his rent instead. The doctor prescribed the inhaler, but the insurance company wanted him to fail a bunch of pointless conservative treatments beforehand.
You denied a $539 inhaler. A 22-year-old had to choose rent, and as a result, he's dead. This is Aaron from Social Work. I'm calling about case number 774-589. Yeah, this is a 22-year-old. He was denied the inhaler. Yep. Well, I'm calling to let you know that he's not going to need that anymore. He made the choice that he was going to pay his rent, like most people, and unfortunately, he didn't make it. He died. He had an asthmatic attack because he didn't have the inhaler. He didn't have the inhaler because you denied it, because you were proposing step therapy. You wanted him to fail a couple other more conservative treatments, and that gamble on him failed for him. Yeah, he could have paid out of pocket $539. That was his rent. How would you expect that he was going to make that? Don't say step therapy. You told a 22-year-old to keep struggling until their lungs proved that they deserved help. That's what you said. Look, I'm not calling to argue or fight this with you. I am calling so that someone has to read this transcript back and that it's part of a record.
God bless him. Aaron, the social worker. Disgusting. That's the human cost. But let's see how California's governor is responding to fraud allegations in his own backyard. Gavin Newsom admits there's massive fraud in California, but says he's been after it for years and years before Dr. Oz was even on the scene.
Might have well be living in Oz when he went down attacking the Armenian community just a few days ago.
Wow.
A business that's down now 30%. Poor guy, small businessman, running a bakery because he decided to do a little TikTok video or something.
Yeah, there's a big difference between running a bakery, Gavin, and running a front medical operation. Fleecing Medicaid. There's a big difference. Oh, the baker's business is down? Well, I can assure you he's probably got enough flour to make his cakes and bread. The reason his business is down is because all the fraudsters are fleeing the country, Gavin. Dr. Oz attacked the Armenian community. What a sick bastard this guy is.
Connected to the mob around hospice. Well, hospice, we've been after that for years and years before Oz was even on the scene. 2021, we did a moratorium on new hospice program. 280 we shuttered. We've been after this for years and years and years. We want an open hand, not a closed fist. We absolutely are here to be a partner to go after waste, fraud, and abuse. I started something called ODI, Office Digital Innovation. I did not, my mistake, do it with a chainsaw.
He's like, we've been going after it for years and years before Oz ever showed up. Yeah, how'd that work out for you, buddy? I guess it didn't work out too well because Oz had to show up. Right?
Had I done that, you would know about it. We just began the Office of Digital Innovation, and we started to begin a process of reforming our procurement and our strategies on technology across the board, but also on the issues of waste, fraud, and abuse. By the way, ODI was a partnership with the Health and Human Service to create the new EBD card, which again is leading the nation. I'm humbled in this perspective. No one's denying these issues, but let's also not deny this is purely political.
Purely political, my ass. Yeah. Good luck in 2028. Newsom's playing defense on healthcare fraud, but he's got even bigger infrastructure scandals brewing. See, Gavin Newsom, all of his skeletons are coming out of the closet. All right. It all started, of course, when the fraud in Minneapolis was exposed and everyone started putting a magnifying glass on every single state in the country. And of course, California's got all the alarm bells ringing at once. Oh, what is this? Gavin Newsom says he's getting started on California high-speed rail. The same project he said he was starting back in 2010. Are you serious? Are you freaking serious?
Central Valley and Wasco, right near Shafter, and we just made an announcement of our progress here on the high-speed rail system. We're now in the process of starting to lay track, 119-mile first phase, fully funded because of the investments we'll make through the Cap and Invest program through 2045. 1,700 people every single day, union jobs, go to work on this project. 58 large-scale structures have been complete, 29 others underway, 99% of the environmental work done. All of the hard work behind us, now we're going to see the fruits of that. We're going to start seeing precisely what you see here. Real tracks, real progress.
I love when they use the union guys as puppets. Oh, yeah. The union boss is like, go out there. You got to do a photo op with the governor. He's struggling with that rail project. Dr. Oz isn't just talking about rail boondoggles. He's drilling down in the specific medical fraud that's killing patients. Jillian Michaels. Dr. Oz exposes alleged fraud in California's hospice industry and its impact on patients, highlighting how loopholes and mismanagement allow exploitation to continue unchecked. Oz urges reforms to safeguard vulnerable individuals and restore trust in the system. But remember, guys.
You were just in Los Angeles.
Remember, guys.
Right? And
hang
you
on.
called parts
hang on,
of
Jillian.
the
Hang on.
episode.
Remember, Gavin Newsom's been at this for years.
Center of healthcare fraud. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this,
let's get
what
into
kind
the
of fraud are you talking about, and what is the scope?
Yeah, what is it?
So let's talk about the kind of fraud, because it's particularly alarming that we're seeing hospices, which again are designed for people who are terminally ill and are going to die within 6 months. We see home health care. These are services provided to people who need desperate support in their homes. So they're trusting someone to come in there and provide these services. We see fraud in home and community-based services. These are the kinds of things that your family would do for you normally, but for whatever reason, your family is not around. So driving you to a doctor's appointment, getting you home after hospitalization and taking care of you and bathing you and bringing the groceries up for you, do the shopping, all the kinds of things, again, that your family would do. But since there's no licensed professional involved in that arena, there's a lot of fraud possible, because I don't have a doctor's license. I don't have some of the classic things you have to tell if you had a hernia operation, where I've got a lot of different ways of figuring out that it actually happened. So that's the kind of things we're talking about. To put some numbers on these, there's been a 7-fold increase in hospice services in California. I mean, Jillian, unless there's 7 times more people dying in California than a few years ago, there's a problem here. We have home health care building in Southern California, in LA County in particular, that represents 9% of all of the billing in America, like the entire country. Wow. That's 5 times more than you'd expect. So again, just the numbers themselves reveal deep fraud. And the problem that I'm forced to tackle is how did it become so systemic, endemic? It's all over the place. When I was talking to whistleblowers and doctors who still were doing these sort of suspect practices and patients who'd been harmed, I kept hearing horror stories where it's sort of commonplace now in Southern California to pay a doctor to get their patient into your hospice facility, to buy beneficiary numbers. So you go to people on Social Security and you can actually buy their numbers. There's a whole market for this. You can buy hospices for a couple $100,000. I'll tell you, this is a true story. I was talking to this guy who owns 5 different hospices, which, by the way, in itself is a question mark of like, why do you own 5? I can just own 1 and do it right. Okay. They buy 5 because if you keep the number of patients in each hospice small, you don't have to report to the federal government. Anyway, he's building a massive house, Jillian, a beautiful house apparently, that he's telling me about with all these ill-gotten gains.
They figured it out. Gavin Newsom couldn't, though. The sounding the alarm that investigators are already digging into what they're finding. Here's more.
California is already paying back $1.6 billion that they previously charged to the federal government for health care services given to illegal immigrants. But they have a much bigger fraud problem that hurts American citizens. So I've instructed Governor Newsom to produce within the next 3 weeks a comprehensive program integrity action plan to address major fraud in their healthcare system. I'm going to give you 3 examples of embarrassing fraud that Governor Newsom has been seemingly tolerating for years. First, California shares the problems that we are seeing in Minnesota with in-home supportive services. What are these? They include personal care like bathing or grooming, household tasks, cleaning and cooking, shopping, transportation. Now, these are tasks that your family could do for you, but having the government pay has generated some significant cash for unethical people. California's spending for these services increased from $8 to $28 billion over the past decade. Why should the federal taxpayer spend 250% more money on California, which is already an affluent state? And this program is still growing by double digits annually. Second, in 2024 alone, spending for home health care in California increased 21%, representing the largest growth rate for any major health category nationwide. The number of home health agencies in California almost doubled between 2019 and 24. LA County alone is accounting for $1.4 billion, representing almost 9% of total fee-for-service home health spending for the entire country, though it just has 2% of the national enrollment. That's 5 times more than expected LA Home Health. I don't get it. They're taking home money that other agencies nationwide could use, so fewer Americans can get access to these vital services. LA County's corrupt practices are hurting innocent seniors outside of Southern California. Finally, LA County should be ashamed of the 2022 California State Auditor Report, showing that their number of hospice agencies increased by 1,500% since 2010. Yes, you heard that right, 1,500%. That exceeds the 40% increase in the senior population during that same period. How can you defend a 7-fold increase in hospice, especially since so many of these charlatans report 100% survival for supposedly terminally ill patients? I'm hearing horror stories from seniors duped by these fraudsters because California is not stopping these criminals. Governor Newsom, the clock is ticking on the deadline for your comprehensive program integrity action plan. Start saving American lives instead of enabling criminals.
Oh, yes. How's that, Newsom? How do you like them apples? The investigation is just getting started, but the numbers coming out are mind-blowing. Nick Shirley, he's back on the scene, says he's already uncovered tons of fraud in California. Let's go, Nick.
Hey everybody, we're here in beautiful state of California. A lot of fraud's taking place here in the state of California, so that may be why I'm here. Lots of fraud. You got homelessness fraud, you got NGO fraud, voter fraud. You got some weird train that hasn't been built in a long time and billions of dollars have gone there, so there's plenty of fraud to be investigating here inside the state of California.
Uh-oh. You should be very nervous when Nick Shirley shows up in your state. The healthcare fraud numbers are insane. But wait until you hear how the homeless crisis connects to the whole scam. The fraud being exposed in California is insane. 18% of the whole country's home healthcare billing is coming out of Los Angeles County. One doctor billed the government $120 million in a single year, claiming to oversee 1,900 patients.
Billed the government $120 million in a single year, claiming to oversee 1,900 patients. With almost 2,000 hospice agencies, LA County has more than 36 states combined and 30 times more than either Florida or New York.
18% of the whole country's home healthcare billing is coming out of Los Angeles County. How is that possible?
And take a look at this map, a cluster of 287 hospice providers in a 2-mile radius, some in strip malls, unmarked buildings, even a wrecking yard and vacant lot.
All of it is just paperwork. I could fill that out in Kazakhstan if I want and get a hospice license waiting for me.
That's how bad it is. You can fill out the paperwork in Kazakhstan. From healthcare fraud to housing fraud, it's all part of the same corrupt system, and here's the ultimate example. Benny Johnson has a whistleblower in California who says Democrats are using homeless shelters to house illegal aliens.
To California, the homeless capital of America, nearly 200,000 homeless people reside in the Golden State.
It's way worse than Minnesota. This was bought with taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. Obvious fraud. What the hell is going on?
Mayor Bass needs Skid Row for her to get federal money, but the reality is we could fix this if we want to.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that never occurred to me.
Welcome to California.
We just had a whistleblower from inside of the homeless industrial complex. So you believe homeless shelters are being used by illegal aliens?
So they're rallying protesters to come and surround us.
This is what LA looks like everywhere. Not just this street, every underpass, every ditch, every overpass, every single intersection looks just like this. You have been lied to. Gavin Newsom, the governor of this state, says that homelessness is down, that he's fixed homelessness, and he's setting records to make the state better. This is a lie. Here's a police officer who is trying desperately to engage with these homeless drug users in their filthy hovels that seem like they've been here for years. This is a choice by the leadership of California to allow this to happen in your neighborhoods. The politicians are handcuffing the police officers, not allowing them to enforce the law. They're choosing this because people have businesses here. Look, people live here. Why would they allow this? Why are those officers helpless? Because of Gavin Newsom and the Democrats in California. And in this video, we're going to unpack all of it. We're going to prove why the Democrats want to continue the homeless industrial complex. The billions of dollars spent in this state, $24 billion spent on homelessness. It's $170,000 per homeless person spent in this state. Look at that. That's a guy's house right there. You live right there. You're moving because you can't take all the homeless?
Yeah.
Your children live here?
Yeah, it's not part for the street.
Oh, of course that it's not safe. Look at that barbed wire. You're living in a war zone. It's all about trafficking in human misery. So that's what we are going to be investigating in this video. The homeless industrial complex that feeds the Democrat Party and their donors in this state, and why they never want to solve any problem like that. Join us for this ride. It's going to be a wild one. Here we go.
Wow. Unreal. California spent $15 billion over 16 years building a train to nowhere. Now the project is estimated to cost $135 billion. President Trump has pulled federal funding for this boondoggle. The non-existent train is arguably Gavin Newsom's most epic failure. The real kicker, all these foreign criminals steal $14 billion from American healthcare. Our own people are dying because they can't afford treatment. This is what happens when you don't secure your borders, don't vet who gets access to your systems, and don't put America first. We're literally funding our own destruction and calling it compassion. This healthcare fraud proves that America's systems are under attack by foreign criminals who view us as easy marks. They set up shop overseas, beyond our reach, and systematically drain billions from programs meant to help American seniors. Every fraudulent claim drives up costs for legitimate patients. Every stolen dollar is a dollar that can't help actual Americans in need. This is why we need leaders who will secure our systems, prosecute these criminals to the fullest extent, and put American patients before foreign profiteers. We can't keep being the world's piggy bank while our own people suffer. So do you think that it's time to stop letting foreign criminals get rich off American healthcare? Check out the Next News merch shop while you think about that one.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.